in the right one. Oh my God, Chris has all the personalized copies. Really?
Hello? Good evening. My kids never quieted down that quickly when I talk to them. This is amazing. So welcome. I'm Chris Abuzi, co-owner with Kathy Crowley of Belmont Books. And on behalf of everyone at the store, I'd like to say how thrilled we are to have you all here for our first full live indoor event since the beginning of the pandemic. So I know you're all here to see Tui Sutherland, hear about her latest book, so I won't talk long. But before I get started, there are a few people we'd like to thank. First, many thanks to Leland, Andrew, Ryan, and the rest of the Regent Theatre crew for all their help in putting this wonderful event together. Let's give them a hand. Leland has asked me to point out the emergency exits for you. So there's one over here where Rahim is. There's one over there, and there's the main exit at the back. All right. Hopefully, we will not need those, but it's always good to know where they are. Second, I want to thank Tui for once again supporting her local independent bookstore by selecting us to host this event. A huge thanks to Tildy, our manager, and Amanda, our events coordinator, who greeted you when you came in. We spent an unbelievable number of hours putting this event together. It really shows. Now, just a few details about tonight's event. First, just a reminder, there's no recording or flash photography during the event. Okay. If you have not picked up, if you haven't been able to pick up your books you ordered when you bought your tickets, there will be time after the show to pick them up. We also, as you probably noticed, have a massive table full of Tui's other books for sale. So take a look there. We are sold out. I hope everybody's been able to find seats, but if you have not, I'm going to ask anybody who has empty seats to kind of shift over. I believe there may be some seats still available up in the balcony. So please be aware that Tui is not going to be signing any books here tonight. Okay, so she did the signing beforehand because there's so many of you, it's just impossible to do in one evening. She will, though, be available for a meet and greet over on the side there at the end of her talk. Okay, so we're going to ask anybody who wants to stay for that, please remain in your seats after the event. Okay, we're going to let people who want to leave get out, not clog the aisles. And then once she's ready, we'll show you where to line up. Yes, we'll show you where to line up. Last item, our next in-person event will be on May 20th with local author Elaine Demopoulos, who will be discussing her wonderful new middle grade novel, Turn the Tide. Please check out the calendar on belmontbooks.com for more details. All right, now on to the main event. I should tell you that this is not Tui's first event with us. Tui is a huge supporter of independent bookstores, and shortly after our store opened, almost 5 years ago, she gave us the opportunity to do an event for her Wings of Fire number 12, The Hive Queen. How many people have read that? Whoa!
What?
All right. Might have to have a pop quiz later. We didn't know what to expect, and honestly, we were pretty shocked when people just kept pouring into the store. Some came from as far away as Hawaii, and we quickly hit our capacity, 125 people. No matter what the fire marshal says, it was definitely 125 people. Until today, that was our biggest event ever, but guess what? Tonight, we have almost 4 times that many people here. As for Tui herself, what can I tell you? Most of you are big fans. You probably know a lot about her already. She's written more than 20 books in her New York Times bestselling Wings of Fire series. And she's the author of at least another 20 books in other popular series and parts of series, including Warriors, which some of you may have also read. In fact, if you read the full list of books she's published, you can only come to one conclusion. She never sleeps. One other thing you need to know about Tui, she's one of the most generous and caring authors you will ever meet. So here she is. Please welcome Tui Sutherland.
Gosh, that's made me cry backstage before I come on. Thank you so much to Belmont Books for hosting this incredibly exciting event. I cannot even believe all of you are here. This is like the first, first event for them, first event in person for me since the pandemic too. So it's very weird and very exciting. Yeah, I feel like in March 2020, I went on a book tour just as like everything was shutting down. I met like 1,000 people, and then it was like, go home, speak to no one but your family for 2 years. So here I am, and I'm just really thrilled to get to see all your beautiful faces, and not just my own face on a Zoom screen, like talking to a void. So I'm hoping that at the end you guys have lots of questions. That's always my favorite part, is talking to you, finding out what your questions are. And I thought I would talk a little bit first about book 15, Wings of Fire, Lanes of Hope. Yeah, this actually book 14 and book 15 were both written while my children were at home doing remote school, which was challenging, but super fun. Now I get to come and talk to you all about it. And what I'm going to try to do is talk about book 15 without giving away too many spoilers. And I know some of you have already read it somehow, but I know a lot of you haven't had a chance to yet. So I'm going to do my best. So I'm talking in general about particularly the fact that this is the end of an arc, right? So it started with book 11 and it goes to book 15 and it wraps up sort of the arc that began with Blue, the Silkwing, and the Lost Continent. And our opportunity to travel across the world and meet these whole new tribes of dragons. I wanted to say hi to everyone online too. Hello. Speaking of traveling. So as a lot of you know, if you've seen me talk before, I'm not someone who spends a lot of time planning out the plots of my books. Like I don't outline everything ahead of time, but I do spend forever on like the history of the world and the backstories of the characters. Because I feel like if I know each character really well, including like their family, everything that's happened to them, everything that's around them, then when I'm writing, it's not like I'm a puppet master being like, you go here, you say this, you do that. Instead, I feel more like I'm standing next to Blue and I'm going, oh my God, Blue, did you see what just happened to your sister during the metamorphosis? There are people chasing you, run, what are we gonna do? And it feels like for me, I'm finding out what's happening at the same time as he is, because I'm like, well, this is what Blue would clearly do in this situation. So it's a little more exciting for me that way. But I do a little bit of planning. It doesn't mean I do no planning. And with books 11 through 15, what I knew from the start was who the protagonist of the first 3 books would be. I knew we were going to start with Blue, who is my gentle, empathetic Silkwing, and that the second book, book 12, would be Cricket, who is the hive wing who is different from other hive wings, but still has to sort of have her eyes open to find out the truth of like what's going on in her world, so she can then share that truth with other people, other dragons. And then of course third would be Sundew, sort of the fierce resistance fighter. And she's kind of the counterbalance to Blue. That was why I wanted to write the 2 of them. Blue is like gentle, wants to understand everybody. Sundew's like, no, I don't want to have a feeling circle with my enemies. I just want to stop them. She's really mad and she has kind of good reason to be. So I knew those 3, and I wasn't sure yet who the heroes of books 14 and 15 would be. When I got to book 14, I realized I wanted it probably to be a dragon from Pyrrhia, the other side of the ocean, because that was when the tribes were going to start coming together. And I was really interested in writing the reaction of the tribes when the dragons from afar are coming. You know, the dragons were escaping Pantala and like need somewhere to hide, need somewhere to run to. And so I thought it would be interesting to write a dragon who at first is really like suspicious and unwelcoming, right? Which made Queen Snowfall of the Ice Wings like the perfect person. She's not someone who's ever been accused of having too much empathy. And she's a little bit terrified all the time. Like that's part of what it is about her, is that she's just scared. She's trying really hard not to show it. She has all of these expectations piled up on her. She's trying to keep her tribe safe. And so it makes her kind of hostile and kind of unfriendly. And that's not something that I feel like I'm usually like. Hopefully, I'm a little more friendly than Queen Snowball. But it was actually kind of easy to get inside her head during the pandemic because, you know, everything was terrifying. Like going outside was terrifying, talking to humans was terrifying. So, so I kind of could get it. I was like, all right, this is what Snowball is feeling. She's scared. But what she needs to learn is sort of how to care for dragons that are outside her tribe, as well as ones that are inside her tribe. So then we get to book 15, and I was like, okay, now who should the hero be? This is a really important one because they've got to like save the world probably. That's what happens at the end of the arc. And I had a few to choose from. I was like, I've got some Pyrea dragons, but I decided it should be a Pantala dragon because I wanted them to save themselves, right? I didn't want our other dragons, who are awesome, to come swooping in and save the Pantala dragons. I wanted one of them to sort of be at the heart of the story. And in fact, I thought it should be a Silkwing because they're the tribe that's like never gotten to save the day before. They've never really stood up and fought for themselves. And that made Luna kind of the inevitable choice. She's Blue's sister, and he spends most of book 11 like trying to rescue her. So I thought it was kind of a perfect circle that like she spends book 15 trying to rescue him. And Swordtail, who wants to remind everyone that he was on that rescue mission too. It was really important to it. And what also made her like the perfect choice for book 15, I thought, is that she kind of fits in between Blue and Sendu. She's also pretty mad. You know, she notices the things that are wrong, all the injustice in the world, and all. She really wants to fix it, but she's also like pretty gentle. She's kind of a Silkwing at heart, you know. She's not like Peril or Tsunami. She like, in theory, the idea of setting the bad guys on fire, but when it comes to doing it, she's like, oh, this feels kind of icky. I don't know if I can do this. You know, when she signed up for the Chrysalis, which is the resistance inside the hives, she kind of thought it was going to be like a group project, you know, the rebellion that we all do this together, and maybe she could do like the Google slideshow. That could be her job. So when it comes to the part where it's like, oh no, actually you have to like do everything maybe a little bit by yourself, she's sort of overwhelmed because, you know, what she really wants to do is like hang out in the sunshine, eat tapestries, eat honey drops, hanging out with her best friends, which is relatable. That's what I want to do, except insert jigsaw puzzles and my kids in there. But she can't because she couldn't while Queen Wasp was controlling things. And she certainly can't now that there's this malevolent evil kind of spreading across Pantala. She has to do something. And so that's what book 15 is about. This gentle dragon who has to find a way to save the world using both empathy and resistance to evil. So I hope the way it makes you feel at the end is that you can make a difference too, right? You don't have to fly into an abyss, you know? And you don't have to confront an evil queen, but there's something you can do like every day. You know, even if you make just one person like a little bit happier today, that's actually huge. That's a really big deal. And so I want you to feel that. And that's sort of the theme of like all the books is the idea that every dragon can make a difference. There's not just one chosen dragon. No matter who the hero of each book is, they're saving the world in their own kind of quirky way. Then the next Wings of Fire book, which is the guide to the world of the dragons, it's actually got a lot of stories like that, sort of little stories from around the world, all these different tribes. And so I thought I might read you one of those because it's something that hasn't been published yet. I didn't want to read you something that would be like spoilers, and I didn't want to read you something that was that you may have already read, so I thought this would be a good example. And it's also a little bit about writing, because it's an essay assignment, it's a story assignment that Kinkajou has written at Jade Mountain Academy. And I also want you to know that like the way Kinkajou writes is a little bit what's going on in my head all the time, and then I have to pare it all back like when I'm writing. So it's a lot of parentheses, and like stream of consciousness, but hopefully you can follow it as I'm reading. And I want you to picture her like in the cave at Jade Mountain, and Moon is sitting across from her, trying to do her own work. Of course, Kinkajou's having none of that. So, okay. So, yeah, so I'll just read you this. It's called The Stupendous Story of Snuggly Sloth by Kinkajou. Once upon a time, which is actually also right now. Is it weird to write a story about someone who's still alive, but start it with once upon a time? Lynn says it's all right, and she has read more scrolls than anyone, except I guess probably Starflight. But if I ask him, I'm worried he'll say that I can't. And it's such a classic beginning. I really want to do it. Okay, I'm doing it. It's my story. Maybe I'm being daring and literary. Maybe I'm breaking all the rules because I'm super avant-garde. Or maybe writers do this all the time, Moon says. Although she also says they don't usually start their stories with long parenthetical, asides and worries, because she says mostly those stay inside the writer's heads, which is totally mystifying, because isn't writing about putting everything in your head onto a scroll so other dragons can understand you and know all your thoughts? Lynn says no, and that probably most dragons besides me wouldn't want everyone to know all their thoughts, and that maybe we should have a lesson on story structure and focus, but that sounds boring. So, once upon a time, there was a very beautiful and cuddly sloth named Silver. Silver was clever and friendly, and she was also a little bit lonely. All the other sloths thought she chirped too much and needed to sleep more and be more quiet. She had one teacher who yelled at her all the time and wouldn't answer any of her really great, useful questions. Moon wants to know what kind of teacher a sloth could possibly have. And when I said, how would I know? She said, I was making up the story, so I can make up anything. So I said, all right, the grumpy sloth was a calculus teacher. And then he wanted to know if I had any idea what calculus was, which I thought was very rude. But then she said she didn't know what it was either. And I said it was something I heard Mastermind say in the Nightwing Fortress. And it seemed mathy, probably. And Moon asked, why, by all the moons, would a bunch of sloths be learning math? And so maybe I should make it like a nap time teacher or a climbing teacher instead. And I said, who is telling this story anyway, Moon? The answer is me. And there's a lot going on here. So stop worrying about what the teacher is teaching and think about how she's being mean to Silver, because that is the actual point. So sometimes Silver was a little bit sad. I mean, she didn't think she was annoying. She just wanted to learn things and get better at stuff and be a really great sloth. And it wasn't her fault that most of the other sloths would rather be snoozing or flopping around, thinking about snoozing, and acted like she was just the very most exhausting sloth they had ever met, right? Silver knew if she just had a chance and some training and some other slightly more energetic sloths to hang out with, she could do something awesome, like save the world. And guess what? She was right. Moon says, I can't write that because I'm spoiling the end of the story. But she doesn't know the end of the story because I haven't even written it yet. So what is she even talking about? Also, maybe this is another very advanced literary trick that I have invented, and other authors are going to want to copy it forever. Moon says she is starting to sympathize with the exhausted sloths. Like, what does that even mean? Silver liked to go out and wander the rainforest, hoping to meet other sloths who were more like her. Moon says this would be a good place for some description of the scenery. Oh, I hate those bits. Okay, fine. The trees were really green. They were also very tall. Most of the time they were pretty wet because this was a rainforest. There were loud monkeys who were nearly as cute as Silver, and quiet snakes who were not cute at all. The wind went whoosh whoosh and the trees smelled like wet leaves. Is that enough scenery description? Moon says she is trying to write her own essay over there, in which case I ask you why she asked me to read aloud each sentence after I write it. And now she's saying she did not ask me to do that. Which, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I remember her saying something like that. She wants to know if possibly I misinterpreted the conversation where I said, I'm going to write a story. And she said, that sounds great. Please do not read me each sentence out loud after you write it. I don't think that's what happened. I think her mind reading is cluttering up her brain, and she just imagined it that smart. One day, Silver was exploring a part of the rainforest that was full of dragons. Some sloths said it was dangerous to go near the dragons in case they got hungry, but Silver was quite smart and had noticed that several sloths had pet dragons, so she knew that they were really probably easy to tame and not as bitey as they looked. Min does not like the word bitey, which she says is not a real word, But if it is a word I can say out loud and you know exactly what I mean, then how can it not be a real word? I mean, Silver was not sure if she wanted a pet dragon, because what if her pet dragon also thought she was annoying? And what if it maybe ran away from her? What if she was the kind of sloth who just wanted to love somebody with all her whole entire heart and express that love with great enthusiasm all the time, but she never found anybody who wanted it? So she watched the dragons for a while. They seemed to like sleeping. There were many of them in many beautiful colors. But was one of them the dragon for her? And how could she tell? And then suddenly, a whole caboodle of new dragons arrived. Silver did not know how many, because everyone knows that sloths cannot count beyond 3. Moon is giving me a dubious face about this fact, so I am ignoring her. Most of these new dragons could not change color. There was a big, hungry brown one, a small, happy yellow one, a pretty big, loud blue one, a wounded, sad blue one, and a super intelligent, wise, noble, generous, brilliant black one who is clearly destined to be an excellent teacher who gives out top grades to students who work really, really hard, even if their spelling is not always exactly totally accurate. Moon says we are not supposed to verbal compliments all over the dragons who are grading these essays. But if I were a teacher and I had to read 35 endless scrolls by my students, and you know some of them are going to be super boring, then I think I would be delighted to come across an occasional nice and obviously true remark about myself. And now she is pointing out that Webbs is also one of our teachers, so just in case, a wounded, sad, very fascinating, and definitely never boring. But the important part is that there was another dragon with them. She was one of the rainbow color changing dragons, but she was quite a bit louder and snappier than they were. She had this shiny, brilliant greatness that just radiated all around her, like maybe she had the sun inside her somewhere. When bad things happened, she didn't go back to sleep or hide her nose under some leaves or pretend it wasn't important. She jumped up and did something. She was a doer of things. And that made her different from all the sloths Silver had ever known, and different from all the dragons Silver had been watching. Like when the other rainforest dragons shot sleeping darts at her friends, the new dragon yelled and got stompy and made them come out and explain things. And when she found out dragons were missing, she went looking for them, even though she didn't even know them, unlike literally everyone else in the village who did know them, but did nothing. Although actually that had happened later, but Silver could probably tell she was that kind of dragon just by looking at her. I asked Moon if she wanted to twitch her eyebrows at me for writing nice things about my queen too, but she just gave me this quiet, sad, thoughtful face and said, no, that's all right. And she thinks she understands my story now, which is so weird. Moon is so weird. It's just a story about a lonely little sloth finding a dragon who can take care of her. 3 minutes. So Silver followed the new dragon, whose name turned out to be Glory, all the way back to the rainforest village. And she watched until Glory fell asleep. And then she carefully, slowly inched her way up the dragon's shoulder. The sloth curled up in a little sunlit hollow on Glory's back, where she fit just right. And that's where she fell asleep, knowing she had found the perfect dragon, and that from now on, everything was going to be much better, and they were going to live happily ever after together. The end. As you can imagine, it's very fun to write in King Jude's voice. So I was like, just put all the words on the page. But the guide will also answer some exciting questions that I hope you guys will enjoy, like what happened to Queen Scarlet's husband, and what happened to Queen Monarch, and what's the story of the Mudwing succession crisis. So we've got a lot of like history and like other characters all buried in there. Okay. Before we get to the Q&A, I actually have a surprise for you guys that I'm really excited about, which is, as some of you have probably heard, we are making a TV show out of Wings of Fire. You've probably also heard me talk about how much I love the people working on it. And we have two of them here tonight. And they're gonna come up and say hi to you. They're so excited. This is Dan and Krista. They are the showrunners, which means they are the very important people making the entire TV show happen. And I thought maybe they could, they're not allowed to say like anything about the TV show. So they're just gonna sit here and be beautiful for a little while. No, I'm kidding. But I thought I could at least bring them up and maybe have them say nice things about Wings of Fire. That would be fun. You can ask some questions along the theme. So do you guys want to start by saying something, or do you want to?
Oh my gosh. Hello, everybody. Fan Wings. I'd like to start by saying that we are here because we are Fan Wings. Our daughter, Emma, was reading these books and she was so into them, she just couldn't stop. So I was like, I'm a responsible mother. I should see what these books are. I should make sure they're appropriate for my child.
Like no violence at all.
I'm probably very appropriate. And I stole all the books and I read them all. And I said to my husband, Dan, Emma's father, you really have to read these books. These are some of the best books I've ever read in my life. And we thought they would make a fantastic TV show. And so we called a couple people, we got in touch with Tui. We found out that we liked a lot of the same things and a lot of the same shows and wanted to do kind of a similar thing. And many months later, we're making a TV show. So.
It's true, we're so excited. We've been sitting exactly where you're sitting, almost literally. We line up for autographs. When we love something, we immerse ourselves in it. We love world building shows. We love role-playing games, like things that just create worlds that we can live in and want to go to. And when we read these books, we became such fans. I know Krista wanted to ask, like, how many parents in the room have read Wings of Fire? Okay, good. Anyone whose hand is not up, fix this. I think a lot of us who grew up with scholastic books when we were very young, they tended to be very youthful books. But we know about how we shouldn't be judging a book by its cover. Because when we read these books, we found that not only are they appropriate for all ages, but they are so sophisticated and emotional and layered and beautiful. And that's why we're all here today. We are fans like all of you, but we wanted to see this become a show. And if we couldn't do it ourselves, we at least wanted to be able to try to protect it as much as we could. We wanted to meet Tui and say, here's all the ways we would like to see your show or your story represented in a series. And we're trying to be protective of the material you all love, because we love it too. So our job is to make something that hopefully you recognize and approve of and feel is a loving adaptation, and also to bring in maybe some new elements that sides of the characters or moments in the stories that you haven't necessarily seen before as well.
It's funny because like over the years, I've met a couple of different people. Well, first of all, I met a lot of people who are like, could you make this a TV show? And I was like, well, I don't have a TV studio, so I need to meet someone.
You don't? You don't have time to just make a studio when you're not writing?
That would be very exciting though. Oh my gosh. You know, I was like, I need to meet someone who knows how to make a TV show first. And then I did meet some people who were like interested in making Wings of Fire, but it wasn't until I met Dan and Krista that I was like, oh, these are the right people. they're just like us, you guys. And so. That this is the team, and they were gonna make it happen. Yeah. So
One thing is that we will try to answer some of your questions with as specific a vague answer as possible. But you know, when a company like Warner Brothers comes along and they pay a certain amount of money to license a book and to have the right to make a show, and what they're also buying is the right to control the information about the show. The creative process takes a really long time, and although we want to tell you every little detail, there are details that can change, and the company has the right to decide when is the best time to give all this info out. So we know that it's hard we want to tell you everything, believe me. But eventually we will. In the meantime, if you have any questions, we'll do our best to try to give you, you know, detailed answers. What we can.
Yeah, I'm the same way too. So let's do some questions. I see a hand all the way at the back there. You were the first one up. Yeah, and someone's gonna run around with a microphone, so.
Go with the weight shirt.
But would the episodes be based on the books or other things?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I can answer that they are based on the books. Yep.
We can stay one through.
Next question.
A little interpreting behind the scenes whispering here, but yes, yeah, based on the books, you can say that. How about also back there, where you already are?
Do you know when the books are when the shows are gonna come out?
We do know, we cannot tell you.
This is where we can give specific, not vague answers. It's not immediately around the corner. We're not trying to surprise you like, we don't know when it comes out next week. I'm sorry, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna be a while. Quality animation, this is a very long process, but we are working as fast as we can. In fact, before we leave, I would love you all to quickly say hello to the staff back in Los Angeles who is working on the show as we speak. And just as a group, if you don't mind saying, just go, hey, animators! Work faster! Let's make it good. Thank you. I promise you they will. I promise you they are the most passionate, wonderful people.
That was amazing. Good job, you guys. Who knew we had this power? Okay, next question. You're already holding the mic, go for it.
Why did you start the Wings of Fire series?
Oh, sure, like at all. So it was a bunch of things. It was how much I love dragons was a place to start because I have always read books about dragons, but never felt like the dragons got to have like the real adventures in the story. Like I wanted them to be the heroes and not just like the sidekicks or the transportation or the bad guys. And so I thought it would be fun to write a series where like it's all from the point of view of the dragons. And it is really fun because you know, it feels like they're all superheroes kind of, like they can all fly and like set things on fire or other things like that. So, that was sort of where I started. So it's like, I love dragons. How do I make them the heroes of the story? And then it kind of spiraled out from there. You know, go.
So we have a lot of questions online.
Do you have a favorite dragon?
Can we all answer that? Because this is like the hardest question for me. I always feel like they're my kids and they'll get mad if I choose one of them and not the others.
Some will get more mad than others.
That's true. That's so Carol is my favorite. That's what she wants to hear. I like writing with funny dragons. I'm always having fun writing like Carol or Glory or Sundew. I also, the dragons I think I most want to hang out with are probably the sort of gentler ones, the least likely to eat me. So like Clay or Blue or Sunny. So all of them is my answer. But
oh my gosh, so many favorites. Although I would say after the 15, I think we're is one of my favorites now. I mean, I feel like her internal monologue mirrors mine in a lot of ways. The anxiety, the nervousness, that sort of thing that she gets, but knowing she has to do it anyway, like get up on stage and talk to a bunch of people she's never seen before. Woo, it's so easy. So that's one of my favorites. I think another of my favorites, and I know that this is gonna probably be a little controversial, is Queen Scarlet, because she is so crazy. And that makes for a fun TV character.
Yeah, I'll say already, she's one of the most fun characters to play with when we're writing of the many queens, because she's just so flamboyant and crazy. My favorite character, I often think of Carol because she's just such a beautiful spirit and such a deadly package. But I have to say that I think Play is somebody who I identify with really strongly, and I see myself in a lot of the characters. I think that's why we all love it so much. But everyone says I'm a big wing, so I try to be like Play.
Love that answer.
Right.
You want to do another online one, or can we do a couple here?
Of course, everyone wants to know, is there going to be another arc and what is next?
All right, here's what I can say. So we're definitely doing the guide that's coming out, and then I have to figure out what to do. I have 4 different things that I want to write. 2 of them are Wings of Fire related, and 2 of them are not. So it's kind of a matter of like which ones happen all the way. I don't have a clear idea yet for like another whole arc, and I don't want to say yes to that until I have a plan. But there are scenes that I haven't written that I really want to. Like, we still haven't met Sky and Carol meet each other. And I really feel like that's an important scene and I want to write it. I also want to do more with like Cliff and Auckland and Peacemaker and Bumblebee. I feel like they would be really fun to write together. And then I feel like I left the characters in Dragon Slayer on a bit of a cliffhanger. So I would kind of like to get back to them as well. So I don't know yet exactly what I'm going to write next, but I think this is not the end of like Wings of Fire books. I think I can say that.
Can I share my fan tribes?
Yeah, go for it.
I made up the blood link, the stone link, the life links. I only have this.
Oh, that's amazing though. Do you write stories about them or draw pictures of them?
I daydream about them sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the best way to start. That's how I started. I was a huge daydreamer, like to the point of teachers being like, Tui, in this math class. And I was like, I hope you guys think about dragons. So I think that is awesome. That shows that you have a creative spirit. And I love, that's like another thing I love about this world is the feeling that, you know, you guys can come play in it. Like I want you to write stories about your own dragons and make up your own tribes and your own characters and just, you know, feel like you can be part of it. Because like I said, anyone can save the world. Could be your dragons too. In the orange.
Will you make another continent?
Oh, good question. Is there going to be another continent? I haven't decided yet because I spent a long time thinking about Pantala and figuring out those tribes. So I'd have to have a really good idea if I was going to do that. But I feel like the world is big enough that there could be, maybe. I would just have to figure out exactly where and what's there. Good question. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, there's an actual dragon in the audience. Hello. Go for it.
What order? In the guides, in the beginning of the book, what order are the dragon tribes in? I was not decided.
Oh, I don't think there was a like very careful decision that went into it. I feel like it was how do they fit on the page? Sorry, that's not a very interesting answer. But yeah, it's an interesting question. I think we just wanted to fit them all in. Right now, the guide that's coming out is organized actually sorted by the books. So it's like Mud Wings first, and then Sea Wings, and then Green Wings, but that can still change. We just sort of, I don't know, my editor was like, that feels right. Okay, so we'll see. All right, here in the middle. Sorry. No,
Not
right
yet,
here.
not yet.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite tribe?
Do I have a favorite tribe? For me, I always say that if I could be one of the dragons, I'd want to be a ringwing. Because just like what Chris said, I do love sleeping. I sleep a lot. and I also want a pet sloth. I want a pet sloth, like I cannot even tell you. So those are probably the two main reasons why I want to be a ringwing. In terms of writing them, I love writing sort of the weirder tribes, like the Ice Wings. I feel like are really weird. Like the way that they organize their society is different from all the others. I wouldn't want to be an Ice Wing, and I hope I don't parent like an Ice Wing. but I do think that they're fun to write, and Leaf Wings also were really fun to write. Do you guys have a favorite tribe?
Gosh, I really do like, I like them all, but I think I like the version of the Nightwings and Darkstalkers. I think is one of my favorite tribes because they're very like sciencey and mathy, and I'm very sciencey and mathy, so I kind of probably would hang out with them.
That makes total sense.
I've always been attracted to the Rainwing tribe because there is so much that is easily misunderstood about them, and you look at them one way, you may mistake them as, lazy. And then when you realize like how important sun time is, and that some things that seem strange to us or that we might judge when we actually get closer or understand the culture, we realize it's just part of their way of life, and that we need to adjust the way we're looking at things. So I love that about them, and it's something that makes me fascinated. Like I want to learn so much more about their culture.
That's awesome.
Tui from the balcony. There's a bookseller up in the balcony.
Oh, okay. You mean like
There's someone up there with a mic.
whoever
We can hardly see the balcony.
exactly.
Yeah.
How about the one in the neon green?
Sure.
Neon green shirt.
Neon green shirt over there. Am I going to make another book in Wings of Fire? I mean, there's going to be something. I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be yet, but I have a lot of ideas, and I just have to figure out which one to do.
Definitely the guy.
Yeah, definitely the guide. The guide is coming, and all the graphic novels are going to keep going. We're doing book 6 of the graphic novel as well. I'm so excited. I hope to keep going all the way to 15 with those. I want to see the Poison Jungle in graphic novel form. I feel like that would be really fun. Yes.
So, like, why is it like a TV show? Like, why is it not like a movie?
Why is it not a question? That is a really good question. When we were first talking about this with Tui, we all kind of agreed that it was just too much story for one movie. There was too much going on, too much fun to be had in this world to fit into 2 hours. So that's kind of why we brought it to places that did TV shows as opposed to places that make movies.
But I think the experience of watching it is very much like watching a very, very long movie. So that's really the idea. It's kind of like a 10-part movie that you're going to watch. It's just not necessarily going to be in movie theaters.
Yeah, that was a big decision when my agent and I first started talking about it. He was like, should I try to sell this to movie people? And I was like, and we both together were like, what? How would you, what would you leave out? Like, how would you fit it all? Would they all just talk really fast? So we can get through the whole story.
They'd all become confused.
Yeah, exactly. They'd all be Pikachu, but like only have like a sentence each to say. So that was why I think the TV show is like perfect for this, because we can like hang out in this world a bit longer, for sure.
All the way in the back in the balcony.
All right, all the way in the back in the balcony. Thank you.
Yeah.
Running up and down the stairs.
Do you have a plan for the diamond trial, because you haven't really written about that?
You mean like what happened after book 7?
No, I mean like the animus trial, sorry. For the ice.
Or for the sea wing.
Yeah, for both tribes.
Okay, so yeah, with the ice wings, yeah, I think the diamond trial, they've effectively ruined it. And then with the sea wings, I wouldn't be surprised if they change things going forward to stop doing the exact like tests that they've been doing. I think what they need to do is like coral and aquid and anemone and turtle all need to sit down and have like a chat about what would be best for the young dragons and how to figure out what to do next. But I haven't written that yet, so you know, if I ever do write another like sea wing animus dragon, I mean, because the way this is a bit of a spoiler for books 11 through 15, but their animus magic is not working anymore. I think that's okay to say in books 11 through 15. And so right now, they think there's no more animus magic, but the way the spell was cast to ruin animus magic, it leaves open the possibility that more could be born in the future. I hope I haven't said too much. But I hope that answers the question too. Yes, in the yellow shirt. A what?
Is there going to be a trailer?
A trailer for the
Trailer
TV
for the
show?
show, eventually, yeah, of course.
Yeah, there will. We don't, we're not in the phase yet where we have footage to assemble a trailer, but eventually we will, absolutely.
As soon as it's ready.
Guaranteed.
As soon as it is ready.
It's gonna be really cool.
We're gonna do a couple more online.
Okay, sure.
Online question. The audience members wants to know what's the hardest part about writing these books?
Oh gosh. The hardest part about writing these books. It's a couple of things that come to mind. One is, I would say the hardest book in each arc is always the fourth one. So like books 4 and 9 and 14. Because I do want each book to feel like this character is saving the world. This character has done something important. But in book 4, they can't finish saving the world because we have to save that for the 5th book in the arc. So there's a lot of like, thank you for your help. That wasn't enough, but good job anyway. And so I always feel bad for those characters, for Starflight and Turtle in particular. And that's actually why I wrote Queen Snowfall in book 14, because I had experienced that with books 4 and 9. And I was like, what if I write a character who doesn't have to fulfill the prophecy? She's sort of like out of that prophecy, but she does have to change. She does have to kind of become a different dragon in order to help the world be saved in the final book. So I hope that makes sense. That's definitely one of the hardest parts. And then also like killing off dragons is hard for me. Every time I kill off a dragon, I'm like, but all the stories that they could have done and all the things they could have done with that character. But I also feel like they're dragons and there have to be stakes, right? Like there has to be a reason we need to save the world. And so, so it's always important to me to like have these scary things happen so that we know why we need our good guys to come along and save the day. I don't know.
And how do you decide who becomes the main character for each book?
How do I decide who becomes the main character? Well, it usually, let's think. What did I decide? Mostly it's thinking about like who is going to like move the story forward, how they're going to change over the course of that book, and like who do I want to be hanging out with? That's actually a big part of it too. It's like, as you know, who do I feel like needs to change, and who do I feel like would be interesting to write about for a whole entire book? That's why I went with Snowfall for book 14, because I was like, well, she's really different from the characters I've written before, and she would be really fun for me to, I mean, maybe not in real life to hang out with, but she would be fun, you know, to imagine at least, I think. Yeah.
Because I'm seeing somebody up there in the balcony who's got a like black and white striped shirt, and she has not put her hand down this whole time. So let's go for her.
So do you have like a favorite book that you've written in the Wings of Fire series?
Oh, wow. It's always hard to pick a favorite book. I really liked writing.
Who's your favorite child?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, my favorite, it was really fun writing book 8, I will say, because I knew how that book was going to end. So it felt like I never really had writer's block with that one. Like it just kept going. And also Peril is so different from me and funny that she was really easy sort of to like keep the story going, unlike Poor Turtle. So So that was probably one that was like really fun to try. And then book 11, I really liked writing book 11, because getting to the new content and like figuring out what was gonna happen over there.
I was very surprised when we got to book 11 and there were shopping malls.
The glitter bazaar. Yeah, that was really fun to try and imagine that too. Over here in the pink cardigan.
Do you have a favorite queen?
Oh gosh, a favorite queen. I mean, Lori probably is my favorite because, yeah, she's fun. I like Queen Snowfall now. I feel like she's, yeah, she's learned a lot in book 14. Yeah, those are the first ones that come to mind. I liked Queen Glacier. She was one I felt really bad about what happened to her. So, but do you have a favorite queen apart from Queen Scarlet?
Other than Scarlet, let me pick a different one. I do love Queen Thorn. I love Queen Thorn a lot because I feel like if mine were missing, I would never stop looking at it. Yeah, and Thorn had this amazing ability to pull people together in a way that made them all feel better and stronger and pulled together without resorting to us versus them. They were all just one big group, and I really love that.
Same. That is my exact answer. Absolutely.
That's all. Yeah, after I picked a bunch of really terrible moms, and I was like, let's try one good. It's time for a good mom.
Tui, time for 2 more questions.
Oh no! Oh my gosh. Okay. Who do I pick? That's like the impossible thing. Yes, you may hear.
That was you. She was pointing at you. Another two.
Do you want to give it to her? She can ask a question.
Is there anything you specifically want to get back to?
Oh, in that world? Yes, there is. I want to get back to Umber and what happened to Umber after book 6. Umber and Sora. That's the thing that I feel like has not fit in the books yet. But I really want to get back to it. I feel bad for them. And I want to like answer what happened to them. I feel like I want to do one all the way in the back. Sorry, Ben. Just pick someone in the back. Maybe the one jumping up and down. What tribe was your least favorite creating? Which tribe was my least favorite to create? The Highwings. I love them. They're still really interesting to write. But the research for doing the Highwings was watching a lot of documentaries about insects. Insects are terrifying. So I watched one called Life in the Undergrowth, which I do not recommend watching before bed. It was absolutely just like the things that insects do to each other. They're very creepy. There's a lot of cannibalism in the insect kingdom. So yeah, that was probably my least favorite, just in terms of like I already had this level of like insect phobia, and now it's a lot higher. Occasionally, I'll be like, "Honey, there's a wasp in the bathroom. We can never use it again." So that's kind of my attitude. Yeah, just move. Let's go somewhere else. I think one more.
Okay,
Just
one
now,
more.
in the gray. I'm looking up. Don't turn around. I'm pointing at you. Look at me. You in the pink mask. I think it's pink.
Yep.
So, when, like, just like an estimate, when do you think the first episode of the TV show will come out?
Just an estimate, not tomorrow. I cannot tell you. I wish I could.
It's not going to be days or months. It's going to be another denomination of time. It is a process. And all animated projects, actually, it doesn't seem that way because it seems like one comes out every week, but believe me, like they started much earlier than when they come out, especially when you're trying to do something quite frankly of quality. Because you have to remember, when we're building Kyria, we get to go to work every day, guys, and like look at designs for all members of the tribe, and to look at the world building of the show. So artists have to create everything. If a dragon is going to like, pick up a blade of grass, we have to draw to create that blade of grass. We have to create props, we have to create the world, and then we have to do tests to make sure it's working right. We have to cast it, record it, and then the animation process itself is a long one. So that's just the fact of it, unfortunately, and that's the best answer I can give. It's going to be a bit of a wait. It's going to be a very big wait, but it's going to be worth it. We swear.
Working on the show and yeah, talking about like all those little details. You know, in my book, I'm like, and they picked up a bunch of scrolls, and they're like, well, what's on each scroll? And like, how do you turn the scrolls? And what is the decoration for an ice cream scroll versus a sandwich scroll? I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, how does a dragon hold a pen? How does a dragon hold, what makes this object unique to dragon culture? Like, what makes it different from a human one? And so those conversations and that development takes a very long time. But again, I think you'll find it worth it. I hope that when you see the world, you believe in it as much as you do when you read it.
Yeah. All right, so we have to stop. I'm so sorry. But bring your questions to the meet and greet the photo line. I would love to try and answer them as quickly as I can. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. So much for attending. I'm sorry you couldn't answer all the questions. You were all wonderful audience members. If you would like to stay for the meet and greet, please stay in your seats. We're gonna get to set up in the meet and greet area, and then we'll form a line. There will be booksellers wearing Belmont books, t-shirts to show you how to line up. I know some of you wanted the Winds of Fire and coloring books. We brought some more from the store, so you can get those on your way out. If you are unable to stay, just now's your time to exit. If you want to stay for the meet and greet, stay, and we'll get back to you in a couple minutes, okay? Thank you so much, everybody. One more hand for Tui and the show runners, please.